Hello everyone! Today's joke of the day is, how do you organize a space party? Stay tuned to find out. Our learning target for today is, I can solve equations with variables on both sides. So sometimes when we have an equation, like in this one, we have a variable, we have an x on the right hand side and on the left hand side. So the way that we're going to solve this is we first, before we can solve, need to get all the variables all on the same side, okay? So we just want to have the variables on one side. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move the variables from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, and then the numbers from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Okay? You could do it the opposite way around, but that's what we're going to do today. Okay? So we're going to subtract 11x, because what we want to do is we want to get this positive 11x not on the right-hand side anymore, right? We only want variables on one side of our equation so that we can solve. Okay, so what we're going to do, the inverse operation of adding 11x is subtracting 11x. And if we do that to one side, then we have to do it to the other side too. Okay, so that's bad. 11x like that. Okay, so when we get this on the left-hand side, we end up just with that, positive 11x minus 11x. That goes away. That gives us 0. So we're just left with 8 over there. Equals. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we want to combine our like terms. So our negative 14 just stays the same. But here we have a positive 12x and a minus 11x. Okay, so we're taking 12x, subtracting 11x, and that gives us 1x. Okay? So now we have our variable, we just have one variable on the left-hand side of the equation, so we can just solve like we usually would, right? So to solve, we want to isolate our variable, right? So we want to take this negative 14, to get rid of that negative 14, we want to add 14 on both sides. Add 14, okay? And then that negative 14 plus 14, that goes to 0. And 1x is just x, so I'm just going to call it x equals, then we have 8 plus 14, it gives us 22. Okay, so that is our answer. If you want to check our answer, we can substitute that x back into our original equation where we see an x. So we would end up with, try and figure out negative 14 plus 12 times 22 equals 8 plus 11 times 22. And we would check both sides in our calculator and see if they give us the same thing. So if I type in negative 14 plus 12 times 22 in my calculator, that gives me 250. Okay, and then that is equal to, let's see if we get the same thing. 8 plus 11 times 22 in my calculator also gives me 250. So we know that x, and we checked our answer, x is equal to 22 works for this equation. Okay, let's look at this next one. Again, I am going to draw my railroad track so I can keep track of where everything is. Okay, and I have a negative 11x on my right-hand side. So to get rid of a negative 11x, we're going to add 11x to both sides. Okay, plus 11x on both sides. Right, now I can just, those go away, so we're left with 61 on the right-hand side equals, let's see, we have negative 95. That doesn't change, and then we take our negative 5 and we add 11x. Negative 5x plus 11x gives us a positive 6x. Okay, so now we can solve. We want to get rid of this negative 95 by adding 95 to both sides. Okay, so that goes away, and then we get 6x is equal to 61 plus 95 gives me 156. Okay, and finally we want to divide by 6 on both sides, because here we're multiplying 6 times x. So we divide by 6 on both sides. That gives us x is equal to, so 6 divided by 6 is 1, so 1x is equal to 156 divided by 6 gives us 26. Okay, and I'm not going to check my answer for this one, but you always should. All right, here we go. All right, looks like we have a negative 10x on our right-hand side, or we're subtracting. So our inverse operation is going to be to add 10x. And I'm going to put it by that 7x so that we can kind of see what we're adding together. So we're left with 49 on the right-hand side. And then we take negative 7x plus 10x gives us a positive 3x. Okay, And then we still have our minus 41. Okay, to get rid of that minus 41, we want to add 41 on both sides because that's the inverse operation there. So those go away and we're left with 3x on the left-hand side is equal to 49 plus 41 gives us 90. Okay, finally we have 3 times x here, so we want to divide by 3 on both sides to get that x is equal to 30. Okay, that's our answer for that one. All right, let's look at a couple more examples here. So we have a positive 8x here, so we want to get rid of that by subtracting 8x on both sides. Okay, so then we have negative 87, 3x, a positive 3x minus 8x gives us a negative 5x is equal to, those go away and we get 23. Okay, and then we can add 87 on both sides. That gives us, we got to remember that negative 5x is equal to 23 plus 87 gives us 110. So now we can divide by our negative 5. Don't forget that negative. Okay, and we will end up with x is equal to 110 divided by negative 5 gives us negative 22. Okay, so that's our answer for that one. Right here on this left-hand side, we have a positive 9x. We want to subtract 9x on both sides. Okay, even though the positive's not there, we know that it is. Okay, 32 left with that on the right-hand side, and we get 6x minus 9x gives us a negative 3x minus 51 is equal to 32. Okay, so we want to add 51 on both sides to get rid of that negative 51. Now that goes away. We're left with negative 3x is equal to, well, 32 plus 51. That gives us 83. Okay. Final step will be to divide by negative 3 on both sides. Oh, it doesn't look like a 3. All right, negative 3 on both sides. That gives us x is equal to 83 divided by negative 3 is not a whole number. That just gives us a decimal. So I'm going to leave it as a fraction. So I'm going to just say that that is negative 83 thirds. And I can't simplify that any further, so that is our answer. All right, one final example here. Here we have a negative 3x on our right-hand side. So to get rid of that, we're going to add 3x to both sides. Okay, those cancel out. We're left with 48 on the right-hand side is equal to negative 60 plus 6x plus 3x. We combine those like terms. That gives us a 9x. Okay, and then we can add 60 to both sides. That gives us 9x is equal to 108. And then finally we divide by 9 on both sides to get that x is equal to 12 in this case. Okay, so in summary, to move a term with a variable to the other side, you need to, well, first thing, you need to complete the inverse operation. Okay, that's what we kept doing. We would add or we would subtract, complete the inverse operation. So that's step number 1. And then step number 2 is to combine like terms. Okay, so we would take like 6x plus 3x, and that gave us 9x, right? That's combining like terms because they have the same variable to the same power. All right, so to tell you the joke of the day, how do you organize a space party? You plan it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.